Welcome to the Programming Lions podcast, Free Beer for Deportations. Well, this episode features Mark Fitzpatrick, the proud owner of Old State Saloon. He's got some very interesting holiday promotions going viral. So let's get into it.
Mark Fitzpatrick from Old State Saloon, welcome back. It's good to see you again. It's been maybe a little bit of over a year since we talked to you last.
Yeah, it's good to be back with you guys. I just was commenting. The boys are growing like weeds, I said. Good to see that.
Yes, they
and
are.
I'm glad to be back on
Yes,
your
they
show.
are.
Yeah, good. Well, let's get right into the meat, huh?
All right, let's do it. So, I heard that Old State has had some new promotions going viral. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, it started out, I think last Saturday it was, or Friday, and I posted that, the issue of the immigration has been getting heated, and I have my stance on that, and I think it's important for people to think about this and what we can do, as normal people. And so I gave out an incentive to people, to the public, of offering free beer for a month for anybody who could give information to ICE that would ultimately lead to the deportation of an illegal out of Idaho. That kind of posted, a couple people sharing, a couple big accounts sharing, and then I saw Department of Homeland Security shared it, and I just about lost it. It was so funny because the way they shared it was it was really clever with the dinosaur holding the beer. But
Yeah. Wow, yeah. So that blew up. That's gotten
That's
millions
crazy.
and millions of views now. And I imagine what also blew up is like backlash, right?
a lot of backlash and a lot of support. So we've had more than last time. With the heterosexual awesomeness thing, we've had more threats to burn down the building. Maybe there's more arsonists out there now. But I think it's this particular topic, actually. You have a lot more people involved with organizations like Antifa, BLM, which we can get into later, some of their comments. And those people who follow those organizations, it appears like they tend to be people who think about violence first, or as a decent solution to something they don't like in life. Somebody's free speech is bothering me, so let's go burn down the building that person's in, and some of them even suggesting that they would like me to be inside of it when it burns down. So yeah, everything from that, we have a lot of that. There's a lot of attacks on my business, some of which I don't even want to explain. It's nonstop. We have a lot of people sending messages. Again, they're very threatening. There's a lot of gay being sent because I find that to be a very demonic spiritual thing. Like, that just seems to be the thing that people who don't like a Christian or don't like somebody who stands for morality, if they don't like somebody who loves the Lord, they want to send them images and things like that. So there's been a lot of that.
It's also kind of ironic. They almost are suggesting that it's wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing when I get called gay. Oh, you're so gay. I've never met anybody as gay as you are. And it's just like, if gay is a good thing, why do you say that?
Yeah, why would they use it as a slur or a... Yeah, it's interesting.
Do some haters compare this to the Nazi Germany with the snitches?
I've gotten a lot of that. Of course, anytime that's the left, when they don't like something that the right is doing, that's one of the key words that they use there, because they hope when they do this, they're trying to shut you down. When people speak out for truth, the way that the left shuts you down is they name call you, and they want it to be something that bothers you inside. So they'll use the Nazi word, bigot.
Nazi, Hitler, they're about the most dehumanizing, evil things you can sort of associate to a person, and so that works for them, right?
Right. Yeah. The other thing is a lot of allegations of racism. East Los Angeles Spanish Coalition or something like that. They sent me a cease and desist letter, and it was like I don't know if they're serious. I think they're serious. Like, I'm supposed to stop my free speech because it's upsetting them, and they're going to alert hundreds or thousands of people to potentially stop or attack my business in some way.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, you are in this country and you're saying it's okay for illegals to be here, and I'm a citizen of the country and I have a constitutional right to free speech, and you're saying I can't have that. So you're like, you're
Right.
basically saying you're not even supposed to be here, or who you're representing is not supposed to be here, and you're telling me that I can't have my First
Yeah.
Amendment. So that's just pretty crazy. But he did ask me if I wanted to go on a podcast with him, and I said yes. So I'm going on their podcast tonight.
Oh, wow.
Really?
We'll see how that goes. But
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see what happens when they get to hear the truth from somebody, But also, if they're willing to talk reasonably, we might come away from that podcast and learn, something about each other. So I'm not going to make an assumption that there's no way it would be a good thing.
Right.
Yeah, well, best of luck.
So this is obviously, it's a controversial topic in America right now. What inspired you to go forward with this plan through the holidays?
The free beer for the helping ICE. I mean, that's just basically I don't know. It wasn't really a title for it, but once it took off,
Okay.
I was like, wow, we should make a whole season out of this.
Yeah.
So we call it Merry Snitchmas. And so you're snitching on illegals who are not supposed to be here to ICE. And so we have some specials that are going on through December that are, Manly American Mondays, which is going to be any male dressed like a man who basically will support ICE and help ICE. And then ladies, I'm Telling Tuesdays. It's buy one, get one for the ladies. And then we have Whistleblower Wednesdays. That's heterosexual couples that are patriots. We just want to give them 10% off, encouraging them, if they're not already, to get married and have American babies, because we need more American babies.
Yes, we do. Yes.
Yeah.
Reproduction, that's a whole other podcast, but reproduction rates are not at
Pretty down right
replacement.
now.
So that's a real problem. And okay, so this came about, and when I think about this, it is interesting because you say, well, Merry Snitchmas, but for most crimes, if we had neighbors turning people in for known crimes against other U.S. policies, and it feels like we would think that's okay to turn in criminals, but they're telling you that it's not okay to turn in criminals. Is that the argument, basically?
Yeah, that's the gist. It's everything they're telling me on the other side is that I'm racist and I couldn't be. I claim I'm a hypocrite because I claim to be Christian, but I couldn't be more unlike Christ.
Well, how do you respond to the critics that say that Jesus in the Bible, I'm pretty sure would accept all immigrants? Like, what would you say to that?
Yeah. So we need to treat foreigners according to scripture with love. That basically is meant for a certain group at a certain time. The way that we could take that today could also be applied to, we treat everybody with love. I mean, that's what Christ would want us to do. But love involves truth and living in reality. You can't exist and have a country exist without rules and laws and borders. And so the loving thing to do is to abide by the law and abide by the order set forth in a government or country. Otherwise, the country will quickly deteriorate, which we've been kind of watching happen. And I have more comments about Jesus in a second, but that's when we lose our borders, we're done. And that's kind of what the last administration did, was essentially encourage financially people to come across our border, especially military age males, into the United States. And these are some of the most wicked men in the world who are capable of really ridiculous, evil crimes, sex trafficking children, etc. That's a huge problem, to have an open border and allow as much of that just to come across into the country. So if people have an understanding of what it means to have open borders and they're pro open border, that means that they don't want that country to exist in its, they don't want it to exist anymore. It's essentially what they're saying. So when you talk about Jesus, a lot of people talk about going to heaven, when you die and everything. The reality is we're going to show up at the white throne judgment. This is Revelation now, the end of Revelation. After the white throne judgment, if your name is written in the Lamb's book of life, which means that you chose to follow Christ, you accept him as your Lord and Savior, you know you're a sinner, and you know the only way that you can be good with the Father is because of that sacrifice that Jesus made on the cross, your name's going to be written in the Lamb's Book of Life. So it says in Revelation. After that, white throne judgment happens. You have New Jerusalem, which is a kingdom that was created by the Father that comes down to a new earth, and it has dimensions, and it's described really well in detail in chapter 21, 22 of Revelation. And Jesus is going to live in this kingdom, and you don't need sunshine because he is warmth, he is light, right? It's perfect. Everything's perfect all the time. There's rivers, there's gold, Trump would love it because there's a lot of gold, it sounds like.
Okay.
And there's this tree, and it has 12 different fruits, one for each month. And it talks about all these things. I am getting to a point here, don't worry. And there's walls on this kingdom, okay? Big walls, and there's 12 gates, and they're guarded. And the Bible says there will not be allowed anything that could come in and enter this kingdom that could defile it. And this is the eternal kingdom. This is where people who are Christian, who love the Lord, will live forever with Christ, and he will reign forever and ever in this kingdom. So the demonstration that we have from Jesus's kingdom is that it has walls and guards, and there's no way anybody would be able to enter this kingdom that would defile it. And so if you want the best example of an ICE commander, it's Jesus Christ himself.
Boom.
Man, what a coincidence.
That's a good example and argument I have not heard actually yet. So thanks for sharing that. And Max, you got to read up on Revelations, buddy.
I do.
Yeah.
You guys, you know what? It's one of the biggest misunderstandings is people talk about heaven all the time. And heaven, there is such a place and location and physical realm of heaven and the different levels of heaven mentioned in the Bible. But really, like, if you want to know where you're going to be spending your time, as a Christian, it's going to be in the kingdom, which is very clearly something different than the heavens. Okay. It's a physical place. So check out Revelation 21 and 22.
Okay.
That's
well,
pretty cool.
Thanks for the advice. We see the left often use scripture selectively, very selectively, against Christians to sort of use our own morality to get what they want. And it's easy to do that when you don't have a moral system, right? Your own moral system is your own self-preference and emotional ideals. So so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another one I get a lot is people say, well, Jesus didn't say that he never said homosexuality was wrong. And it's, the answer to that's really easy. There's a lot of things that Jesus didn't say were wrong. He didn't say bestiality is wrong. He didn't say watching pornography. There's a lot of things that he didn't say were wrong. They were just clearly known to be wrong by everybody. So you don't have to say it to your audience if everybody knows it's wrong. He literally said the best, the way that God designed sexuality is between man and woman, and that would be in a marriage. So he doesn't have to say here's all the list of things that are wrong and all the things in the future that you guys are going to invent that are wrong. I'm going to give you this list now so that it's all inclusive of everything not to do. That's not the case. He doesn't need to do that because he defined what was right. And he said, this is right. So, you can basically make this assumptive understanding that everything else outside of that would be outside of the design and will of the Father.
Right.
Yeah.
Essentially, he defines the ideal, and that's what we strive towards. And interestingly, yes, sexual perversion is probably one of the more prominent things that is talked about, let's say, as sinful in the Bible, and yet they still argue that it's not. And so, I don't know. It's interesting. I have a similar take to you on this, Mark. We love people. I have friends that are in LGBT, and I love them. I care for them. I also have friends that are smokers or sin. I sin. We all sin, and I love everybody. And so it's not. I don't find it to be wrong to tell people the truth about what they are doing or the life that they're living. And so if you're cheating on your spouse, I would say, hey, that's wrong. You should not do that. And so it's similar in some of these LGBT spaces, but they get really upset. They get really, really upset when you state these things, or we've made posts that just show basic statistics about the people that live that lifestyle and their quality of life, and they're in almost every statistical measure not living the same quality of life. And so we post that stuff, and and we get a lot of backlash.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Definitely. Speaking of speaking of that, what you were just saying, and you, Mark, were also telling us some things about how you've been getting a lot of backlash and a lot of hate, which makes sense because you've put out things that people not agree with, especially a lot of the aggressive groups like you mentioned, LGBT, right? BLM, all of those guys, right? So I'm asking, what do you think are like the main differences and like the things that are right between them?
I mean, like who's the
Like
maybe
what are
like
the
who's the most aggressive?
yeah, who's like the most aggressive? What are they similar with? What are they different about?
Yeah, so I think there's definitely this time is definitely a higher level of physical violence threats
Mm,
happening with the way that I experienced the pushback on heterosexual awesomeness was definitely a more of like a darker demonic type of response. This
Mhm,
one feels, and what based off what I'm reading and receiving and threats and everything. I'm still getting some of the LGBTQ stuff, obviously, because they're gonna all the time. They just come after me. But
mhm,
the other this way is definitely more of like a physical violence way. And so we've touched on people who, I mean, illegals tend to, they're going to be a part of gang movements in cities and things like that. And that's part of the
mhm,
life that they're used to is violence, and violence being a solution to a problem.
right.
So I don't think you have that as much with the LGBTQ, movement. It's not a very quick move towards violence. We've seen
yeah,
transgenders and using weapons and shooting people and all that stuff. So it does exist. It's just that the lifestyle of the people that are really offended by this, apparently, based off of what I'm receiving, are definitely more inclined towards physical threats and physical violence. A lot of
mm.
mentioning of burning down the building.
Wow. What are you doing to keep yourself and your staff and your business safe?
So yeah, I mean, I have we
What you can tell us, I guess, right?
yeah. So we're a pretty safe place because at any given time there's probably 10 people armed at Old State Saloon. Our
Mhm.
bartenders are armed, and we have veterans there, and there's a lot more coming in specifically this week because they want to be there to make sure things are safe. We have
Right.
retired police officers. I mean, people are doing men's prayer groups. Idaho is definitely a gun-toting state,
Mhm.
so a lot of people are armed, and so it's very very safe. We have some new cameras, and I want to actually make that system bigger. And the other thing is, we've had some other strange things happen.
Mm.
And, I was speaking out against, and I named them publicly in some interviews earlier this week. And then the very next day, yesterday, I was speaking out against Idaho representatives and even the governor of
Mhm.
Idaho, Brad Little, for not taking a strong enough stance on this issue of immigration and illegal immigrants. And it makes you wonder why. And when you start wondering why, I've learned that you need to follow the money, and where's the money going and who's it's coming from, and
Right.
Yeah.
who's sending big money to, let's just say, governors or representatives or whoever are running for office. Who's sending them big money that has a vested interest in making sure that we, allow illegals to be here in Idaho, and it's going to be these people with these big farming operations going on,
Right.
the big agra, if you will. And so that's where I would naturally start looking, to follow the money and see why these representatives are making, these decisions that they're making. So the very next day after I said those names publicly, I got a call from Idaho Tax Commission, and they said they're
Mm.
doing an audit on me for sales and use
Oh,
tax
interesting timing.
for my
Mm.
business.
What a
It's like,
coincidence.
that's impossible. That timing's impossible. I even told the guy on the phone, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I said, well, this thing's happening. And can you imagine that I spoke out against Mayor McLean, who is the mayor of Boise, an extremely wicked pro LGBTQ, pro
Yeah.
trans, pro transing kids person?
Yeah.
And I spoke out about her. I spoke out about the governor. And the very next day, you're calling me. That's what I said to him. And he's like, yeah, actually, that does seem a little bit strange now that you're saying it. And I think I believe him. I think maybe he just hadn't heard that all this stuff was happening and didn't necessarily know. He just
Mm.
said that it was in his, message box or whatever to start this
Right.
today, that day, and so he called me up. is definitely extremely suspicious timing as far as that
Yeah.
Weird.
goes.
Yeah.
So what I've done, I'm assuming this is going to be a bigger deal than a normal audit. Maybe on, if it is like a weaponized government type of thing. So I'm going to
Hmm.
hire an additional CPA that specializes in these things to help make sure everything's good. I don't really have any concerns, but they say the punishment is the process
Yeah.
of going through the audit and all that stuff, and they're just it's like what a lot of these people are doing to me is trying to attack my business by making it impossible to do business because you're
Right.
so, let's just say, distracted. And so what I did to try to combat that is I put out, and I'm trying to get more cameras. I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to hire some security, some things.
Yeah.
So I did put out that Give, Send, Go today to
Mhm.
see people wanting to chip in. The last I saw was like at $500 already. I was really, really happy to see that. So that was really cool.
Hmm.
Oh, nice.
I'm sure you'll get some support there. So this kind of leads into my next question, which is Old State has had a history of some, let's say, non-woke practices, which is great. But like hetero awesomeness month, and now Christmas for snitches, and
Merry Snitchmas.
Yeah.
yes, and you've had speakers come into your bar that I guess share conservative viewpoints and Christian viewpoints. And so, what, as a bar owner in a town that probably leans very conservative, but what inspires you to do this? Because it is like taking on a big beast, because you get so much, say, headwind from the broader community when you do stuff like this. What inspires you to keep going and come up with new ideas and keep pushing the envelope through your business?
Well, I mean, the short answer ultimately is my faith but it's truth. I mean, I have like a really strong desire and calling to understand truth and try to help other people understand truth, which is a much more difficult thing than I think most people think it is. And when you
Hmm.
go through scripture, and Jesus often says, "For those who have eyes to see, let them see. For those who have ears to hear, let them hear." And he says a lot of times, he says, "Pay attention. Like, verily, verily, I say to you, like, hey, look, what I'm about to say is important. Understand this, because there's a lot of deception in the world." And later Paul writes in Hebrews, end of chapter 5, he talks about deception. He says if you don't make a practice out of discerning between good and evil, out of deception, truth and deception, and trying to figure that out, if you don't make a practice of it, he says, then you don't understand anything beyond the milk of Scripture. In other words, this is not going to be a living, breathing document for you that is going to inspire and that you're going to learn from every day if you don't make
Hmm.
a practice in your regular life out of really digging into what's true or not. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of like, to me, an extremely important thing. Jesus said he's the way, the truth, and the light. And so I want to be like that. I want to pursue truth. But he said, if you do that, if you follow me, the world will hate you. And he
Right.
said, to take heart because they hated me first. And so if you have somebody who says that they love the Lord and they're following the Lord, and they don't have people who hate them, it means they're probably not following the Lord. I mean, they're probably not
Right.
doing what he does. That being
Right.
said, I completely understand that most people live a life where they're in a position that would affect their family, their livelihood, etc., if they were to be as blunt and truthful about things as I am.
Right.
I completely understand that. We all have a different calling, but those people who maybe can't be the person who's out in public, hard charging and saying hard truths, if they can't be that, then they can be somebody who
Hmm.
supports that. They can support it through
Right.
prayer. They can show up
Hmm.
when those other people are saying, "Hey, let's do this," they can get behind it. They can simply click like or share or whatever
Yeah.
on social media. It helps. Followers, etc. Financial help is amazing. Prayer support is amazing. So there's something for everyone to do, and not everybody. I used to get so upset. Why isn't everybody? Why isn't every? I mean, and if everybody did say the truth at once, there's no way that they could censor it. And people were afraid of talking about vaccines when you had these like front runners, and then the front runners are taking all these arrows and getting censored and everything. But if
Right.
everybody had
Yeah.
stepped forward at once, they just can't stop it. They can't stop the masses when the truth is going to come out that quickly and everything. But it doesn't work out like that. It's usually there's people in front and they're taking the arrows, and then they build
Yeah.
behind them, and then hopefully that
Mhm.
movement grows and truth spreads. And so that's what I want.
Yeah.
I just want to
Yeah.
be a part of that. I just want to be a
Right.
part of spreading truth.
Well,
Mhm.
we can appreciate that. It takes a lot of courage to do what you are doing because you do take a lot of arrows. And we feel like we do a bit of this too. And we have people that reach out to us. In fact, just last night, I got a really heartfelt note from somebody that said, I want to be able to speak out more about truth like you guys do on your show or on your social media, but I don't feel like I can because people will hate me.
Yeah.
And so this is a very common thing. And so I tell people the same as you, like try to build up the confidence, or if not, you can support us in other ways. And that, that's just a different way to support, but it is tricky. Like people can lose their livelihoods, they can lose their business, they can lose their family. I mean, we've probably all of us here on this show have had that happen in our lives. And so it's tricky, but yes, at the end of the day, it's like, gosh, I feel like you should do what's right. And I've got two boys here. And so I'm trying to lead by example in speaking truth and doing what's right and trying to teach them along the way, like to do what's right and to engage with other people. I know I've seen you do this at whether it be parades in Boise or whatever, but engaging with people that think very differently. Like we just had a couple of communists on our podcast, and we definitely don't believe in communism, but
Yeah.
it's interesting to see how they think and work, and then we can kind of unpack that, and ultimately, it helps refine our ideas, our belief system, our worldview, and our faith in a lot of instances. So yeah, well, we appreciate
Yeah.
what you do for sure. Are there other things that people can do?
To support
Prayers,
you.
give, send, go to support you. People out there that might be listening to this that are patriots and believe in the things that you're doing.
Yeah, prayer warriors. And I have some, and more the merrier. This is definitely a spiritual battle for sure. So that would be appreciated. We have our online store that people are buying shirts and they're buying merchandise, and a lot of people. There's been several people who've called and said, "Hey, I'd like to buy a round of drinks for some patriots that come in, or some
Love that.
veterans or whatever." So we have that option on our store. If you go to oldstatesaloon.com/store, or just hit the store button, you'll see that in there. And just getting the word out. I always appreciate it when local people are generous with our bartenders and team and everybody who's working there, because it is a bit of an extra stress for them too. And I'm sure they take some heat from some of their people they know and their friends for working for Old State Saloon. But yeah, all of that would be much appreciated.
Well, I kind of wish we had an
Nice.
Old State here in our town. We had
That would be nice. Maybe you should franchise.
yes, maybe franchise this thing.
I did put the max on the Give Send Go up to $1 billion, because why not?
Okay.
And I said if we get enough, we'll build a new kitchen first at ours. But then if it goes way beyond that, we'll just start putting up Old State Saloons all over the place. And that would really like blow the minds of all the liberals around.
Yes. Well,
That would be
I know a lot of
hilarious.
people
That would
that
be
would
so funny.
I know a lot of people that would like to frequent your establishment. And we had the opportunity. We were in Idaho about a year ago.
Yeah.
We went out to just kind of
We came
check-
over to
The
we
root
came over
beer
to the saloon,
So
and
we-
we had ate some of the food. Max had some root beer.
Tastes like real
Dad
beer.
had actual beer.
yeah.
So
And then I
okay,
think we
so
also had like a burger.
since
or
then we're
something.
all ages now.
Oh.
And it's all ages from we open in the morning until 8 p.m. when our kitchen closes. But yeah, so next time you come back, you're welcome to come inside.
Oh, good. So you've got like a restaurant
Nice.
license now.
Yeah, there's actually right now our bar is full of homeschool kids and their moms and dads.
Oh,
Oh,
that is
nice.
awesome. That is
Nice.
awesome. Well, I have to say, for anybody listening that wants to go to Old State, we went. Okay.
The food is
The
amazing.
food was amazing. Like, and I'm not just saying this because I wouldn't toot the
We're
horn of
not
this if it
sponsored.
wasn't
We're
good.
not
Yeah, we're not
sponsored.
sponsored. But the food was,
Delicioso.
and I'll tell you what I had. So one, I had a hazy IPA that was on tap, delicious. Max had the root beer.
Root beer.
I had a like roasted turkey sandwich that was unbelievable.
I think
I
ate
still
half
think
of
about it. Huh?
Did I eat half of it?
You ate part of it. Mom had a salad. She's a very healthy eater, and Will had what'd you have, a burger?
It was some sort of burger.
If we
Wow.
get back in town, we're gonna definitely come back because we enjoyed it and had a good time.
When you come out,
Yeah, I guess since now you guys have breakfast, you might eat their breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
yes. And root beers are on me when you come out.
All right, perfect.
Catch.
Perfect. Max enjoyed the root beer. Well, with that, why don't we wrap it up? It was great talking to you again. We wish you all the luck in this, and wish you safety, luck, and prayers. And anything we can do, we'll definitely drop some of the information into the description of the podcast, and we'll have a couple of shorts and reels that go out too. So yeah, best of luck to you.
Thank you, guys. Just want to keep encouraging you to keep on keeping on, because I like seeing your clips and everything when they pop up. So I'll always be
All right.
sharing them. Thank you.